Am I the asshole for telling my stepdaughter she has to move out of my apartment, for my sister and her family? I'll try and keep this short. Me, 49, and my wife, 45, have been married for 5 years. I have a stepdaughter H, 22. H used to live in student housing, but is currently taking a year off school and therefore isn't eligible anymore. Her school, workplace etc. are a few hours' drive from here. I own an apartment around that area, so we're letting H stay there. I don't charge her any rent. My sister, 40, lost her job last year and works at a new place, which pays much lower. She lives with her boyfriend and my 14-year-old niece, and they're struggling with the rent. They like extravagance, so this is hard on an entire family. I want to offer the apartment to my sister's family to stay in, since they're 3 people who actually need it. They're on board with this and we've talked to H, that obviously it won't be immediately and we'll give her some time to find another place, so my sister can stay there. H got upset and said if she really has to move, and it's going to be hard. I offered to help her find somewhere, but said that this is our decision. My wife isn't happy with this and said I'm being unfair to H. The extravagance comment doesn't mean they're not living within their means. Obviously they've cut down now. Just wanted to clarify because telling me to just tell my sister to no be extravagant isn't really helpful when it's already been done. And I'm sorry but everyone is saying I'm favoring 2 adults over my young stepdaughter, but my niece is 14. She's a minor. You are the asshole. You can't just throw your stepdaughter out who'll struggle with finding an apartment and paying rent probably even more. Also, you said your sister and her family like extravagance, and therefore it's difficult for them. So perhaps give up the extravagance? I'd suggest that you find a compromise with your wife and don't throw your stepdaughter out into the blue. You are the asshole. You are being unfair to H, in that you're kicking out a 22-year-old who is working and has done absolutely nothing wrong in favor of 2 grown adults with jobs who can't be bothered to live within their means and are dragging their kid down with them. It's your property and of course you can do as you like, but don't delude yourself into thinking you're being fair, because you're not. You are the asshole. So, because your sister can't give up her selfish lifestyle, your stepdaughter has to suffer? I hope you don't like being married. Am I the asshole for saying that no one was getting any food until I finished my work? I, 29F, live with my husband Tom, 32M. He has a child Anna, 5F, that he sees on weekends. I love Tom a lot, but honestly he can be a little exhausting sometimes. Anna is always sweet. A little background context. In my family, my mother always did much of the work. She had a high-paying job just like my dad did, both of them software engineers. But my dad was often on the couch playing video games while she worked on her laptop and cooked and cleaned all at the same time. I hated the dynamic and brought it up with my mom often, but she had always just defended my dad, saying that he did a lot of work. I promised myself that I was never going to grow up and marry someone like my dad. Now, years later, I'm kind of in that position. It's true that Tom does bring in a lot of money, but so do I. The first year or so was good. Sometimes he forgot things and had to be reminded, but overall he did what he was supposed to. After that, he just started slacking until I was doing the majority of the household chores and work. Every time I brought it up and tried to get him to change, he at first promised he would and then go back to his normal routine a few days later, and then later on he would just sulk every time I asked him to do the chores. I guess I kind of stopped asking because it never got anywhere. Over the weekend, Tom brought Anna over. I was working on a big project on my laptop, and had been since early morning. He went out with Anna for breakfast, and then came back around noon asking what was for lunch. I told him I would sandwiches or something later because I was busy. He kind of looked at me weirdly, and then went and sat on the couch and played video games while Anna napped. Every once in a while he would look over at me, and then go back to playing video games. Later he finally puts down the controller and came up to me and asked why the sandwiches weren't ready yet. I told him that he knew I had a big project I was working on and would do it later. He tried to take the computer away from me coaxingly and saying that Anna would be hungry and that the project could wait. At that point I kind of snapped. I was stressed from the project and I hadn't eaten all day, my fault, and I sort of yelled. I told him that he had arms and legs and a working brain so he could make lunch too, and that he does this all the time, and that he needs to start pulling his weight. He got startled but then yelled back that cooking was my job. I usually do the cooking and usually it isn't a problem because I like cooking. I told him fine. I said I was sorry for trying to push my duties onto him. I had been about to make the sandwiches after a small portion of the work was done, to relax with a bit of cooking before returning to the project, but I then told him that I absolutely would make the sandwiches but only when all my work was done. He started whining, but I told him either he finds some other form of food for him and Anna, or they wait. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your husband has conditioned you into doing all the work around the house and you've let it slide. You even admitted you stopped asking because it never got anywhere. Now you've got a 32-year-old son on top of a 5-year-old stepdaughter. He is so lazy, immature, and you shouldn't put up with this anymore. Put your foot down with him. He's fully capable of making a few sandwiches for lunch, which is the easiest thing to make, especially as he knows you're busy on a big work project. If you don't like doing the majority of chores, then stop doing them. Tom is obviously lazy, but you're enabling it. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for refusing to meet my husband's daughter or take my son to meet her? My husband got our former friend pregnant while we were separated, so now he has a 7-month-old daughter. He doesn't plan to be involved in her life, but he's currently working with a lawyer to establish paternity because I'm forcing him to do it. The girl's mother has asked me if I want to meet her and introduce our 3-year-old son to his little sister, but I've said no. My husband's family on his mother's side have been very accepting of the baby and her mother, so they've been pressuring me to meet her since she's technically my stepdaughter, and they think I need to be willing to help foster a relationship between her and my son, as we all know my husband isn't going to do it. I was upset, so I told them my son would never have a relationship with her and I wouldn't ever meet her because they kept pressuring me to. Now everybody thinks I'm some awful bitch who hates a baby when I don't. It also doesn't help that my husband has cut off financial help to that side of his family because they made me cry, which has only made them hate me more. We had a good relationship before all of this, so I feel crap and I'm wondering if I'm an asshole. Not the asshole. Sounds like you're getting blamed for a lot of your husband's poor choices. I feel for the baby, but that's not your responsibility. Not the asshole. You don't have to accept your husband's side kid. I think your son would like to have a relationship with his half-sister in the future, but it should be solely your husband's responsibility to make sure that the kids spend time together, not yours. I don't think you're an asshole for feeling any certain way. I do think your husband is an though, if he were not to behave like a father. The baby didn't ask for any of this. This is entirely a choice he made that he needs to deal with. I'm honestly shocked that you gave him another chance. But with another chance comes the fact that he has another kid. I honestly think you should seek therapy. Individual and maybe couples therapy to try and navigate this. Definitely above Reddit's pay grade. Not the asshole though. Am I the asshole for not wanting to engage with my niece about her birthday? My niece's birthday is in mid-December. My son was in the hospital almost the entire month of December. During that time I rarely went anywhere except for work and occasionally home to get clean clothes. My dad and sister also frequently came over to help with things, bring food, sit with him while I took a shower, things like that. I did not attend my niece's birthday, wasn't even thinking about it at all. I also forgot to text her happy birthday. My dad also missed her birthday because he was helping with stuff at the hospital. So no one from her mom's side of the family was there, except for her mom. Now that my son is back home, my sister and her husband brought my niece to visit. At one point after my son fell asleep, my niece said to me, "Just so you know, it really hurt my feelings that you didn't wish me a happy birthday, not even a text." I was a little miffed that she would hold on to something like that when my son and I just went through something horrible, but birthdays are a big deal when you're 15. So I just said, "It slipped my mind. Happy birthday." My brother-in-law said, "She was pretty upset no one from your side of the family was there." I just stared at him for a second. "Yeah, I was at the hospital, with my son. Kind of weird that you forgot that." He said, "I didn't forget, but you took over everyone's attention for a month. I don't think it's too much to ask that you apologize to my daughter for making her grandfather miss her birthday." My sister said that we should talk about something else, but I said I thought it would be better to cut the visit short, since my son was already asleep anyway. My niece said, "So you would rather us leave than acknowledge you hurt my feelings?" I said yes. My sister gave me a hug and said they would visit at a better time, but her husband said, "Don't worry, honey, your uncle is just a jerk. It's nothing to do with you." Then they left. Now, could I have apologized for missing her birthday and technically being the reason my dad did? Sure. Should I have? She's 15. One would think she's old enough to understand extenuating circumstances. Is that an unrealistic expectation? Update. Thanks to all the people that weighed in and gave me perspective on this situation. Between caring for my son and work, I haven't been able to read every comment. However, I have read a decent sampling, and all the diverse opinions helped me to sort through my thoughts. I'll address a few common statements and then tell you what I decided to do. I know it is difficult to comprehend what a situation like this entails if you've never been in it. Several people have told me to take my niece out to dinner and this will all blow over. I am now the primary caretaker of a disabled child alongside working a full-time job. I am in massive medical debt and will probably be filing bankruptcy in the near future. Taking people out to dinner is not in any sense a realistic proposal. I have a time deficit and a money deficit. A lot of commenters also made mention of my sister and her parenting in a negative light. My sister is an amazing person and mother. Despite what I might be feeling towards her husband right now, she is the world's greatest big sister, and I am blessed to have her in my life. She came through for me in so many ways during all of this, as she has many times before in my life. That brings me to my decision. I made the difficult judgment call that I didn't have the appropriate emotional resources right now to handle this conflict without potentially causing further rifts in the family. I wrote my sister an email expressing my gratitude to and love for her. I then explained that I am going to be limiting contact with her husband and daughter temporarily while I handle the situation with my son. I don't have the emotional strength right now to address the issue with them and be 100% confident that I won't say something I might later regret. I told her that however she needs to handle my decision I will accept and respect. I just sent the email, and I am nervous. Even with everything going on right now, I am scared of possibly losing my closeness with my sister. My son is my main priority though, and I have to focus on him. Thank you to everyone for your perspectives. The wide variety of responses helped balance me, and some of you might be the reason I didn't make a big mistake like calling up my brother-in-law and cussing him out. Things will be difficult moving forward, but I have hope that they will improve with time. Your brother-in-law is the asshole for instigating an issue. You are not an asshole for forgetting the birthday or making your dad miss the birthday, and your niece isn't an asshole for telling you it hurt that she didn't even receive a message. But your brother-in-law was really trying to instigate, and that comment when you asked them to leave. What an awe. I do have to say, you kinda suck for saying, she's old enough to understand. You never get too old to get hurt over being forgotten.